Hello everybody and welcome back to our modelled writing video. So if you have been with us before, then you'll know how our videos go, but if you are new here, welcome, and I hope today helps you with your IELTS journey wherever you are on that journey. So today we are going to look at two task 2 videos. So they are the longer essay style questions. You have 40 minutes to complete these questions, and we're looking for a minimum of 250 words. So that is what we're going to tackle today. And as always, we'll go through how to approach the different types of questions. We'll talk about a plan, and then we'll put together the answer, do the write up as if we were in the exam itself. So that's what we'll look at today, and we will get started on our first question. Okay, so here is the first question. The topic of the first task 2 we'll be looking at, and it's going to be about alternative medicine. Alternative medicine. So something to be aware of. This question might come up, or question along this topic might come up in the exam. Here's the question itself. Currently, there is a trend towards the use of alternative forms of medicine. However, at best, these methods are ineffective, and at worst, they may be dangerous. To what extent do you agree with this statement? Right, so the first thing that jumps out at me is this sentence here, to what extent? So now I know what type of question I'm being asked. It's an opinion question, and they want us to, the question wants us to decide whether we completely agree with this statement. We might completely disagree with this statement. Or alternatively, we could both agree and disagree. So we could do one paragraph for either. So that is, I quite like these questions because they're a bit more flexible with how you can answer them. You can decide, okay, what is going to be the best route to go down, and I always say that don't worry if it doesn't match your own personal opinion. When we're answering these questions, we just want it to be the most straightforward way of answering. So that's what we're going to look at today. All right, so what are we actually thinking about? Do we agree with this statement here? At best, these methods are ineffective, and at worst, they may be dangerous. Right, so let's put our thoughts together on this plan here. Now, to do a plan in the exam is so vital to stay on track, stay focused, and answer the question properly, which is all things you're being assessed on in the exam. Therefore, we want to just note down our ideas in this form of a plan to help us. Okay, so I think I'm going to agree. I think that's the easiest way of dealing with this question. And the first point I'm going to agree on is I'm going to state that they are not based on pharmaceutical, quite a tricky word to spell there. Pharmaceutical, oh, I spelled it wrong. Oh, it's okay. Pharmaceutical principles. Therefore, they're not based on pharmaceutical scientific principles. There is a lack of research. There's not that many studies done, so we don't actually know the efficacy of this of this treatment, how effective it is, and this can lead to potentially grave situations. For example, patients might be treated for certain diseases or illnesses, and this alternative method might not be successful, leading to perhaps unfortunate circumstances. So we can use that example there. Okay, then. So to develop this, I can do another agree paragraph. And I can talk about the fact that, okay, these alternative forms of medicine, well, because they are not done through the usual route, there's perhaps no warnings with them. There's no certain outcomes, so we don't know what's going to happen. There is space for perhaps non-professionals in this sphere, people that are maybe jumping on jumping on trends. And we can talk about the use of social media that hype up these trends and make them really popular, when in fact, do they have any substance to them? It's not been proven. And how much can we trust this social media or this trend at the end of the day? Okay, then. So I think we've got a lot to work with here for the agree. Perhaps you think differently at home, and you're welcome to, think how you would answer this question. Would you want to agree, disagree? What examples can we think of? You can, yes, as we do this, you can think about how you would answer this question. So, as it's an opinion question, in our conclusion, we just want to state what we've argued. So, for example, completely agree with this statement here. And of course, in the write-up, we'll expand upon these notes, but this helps us stay on track. All right. Well, I think we can get started with the essay itself. And the first thing we need to do is we need to paraphrase these first two sentences. So we need to put them into our own words. Very important skill there. So we're looking at, currently there is a trend towards the use of alternative forms of medicine. We could say something like, it appears that for the time being, alternative forms of medicine, medical treatments outside of the pharmaceutical approach are outside the pharmaceutical approach are there's a trend, very fashionable, we could say. There's a trend, very fashionable. Okay, then we have, however, at best, these methods are ineffective, and at worst, they might be dangerous. What could we say? Something like these methodologies, or these practices. We're always checking our spelling as we're going along. Can be ineffective, maybe we could say non-curative in the best case scenario. And or in the, maybe in the most positive, in one scenario. On the other hand, they may end up being treacherous and lead to unfortunate circumstances. Okay, let's read this back. It appears that for the time being, medical treatments outside of the pharmaceutical approach are very fashionable. These practices can be non curative in one scenario. On the other hand, they may end up being treacherous and lead to unfortunate circumstances. In this essay, I will wholeheartedly or completely, undoubtedly, heartedly agree, or we could say, I wholeheartedly agree. I wholeheartedly agree with this perspective and will demonstrate my reasons why in this essay. Okay, so we'll talk about, we've paraphrased, then we've stated what we're going to do in this essay. Okay then, so let's go to our topic sentence of the first agree paragraph, and we're going to talk about why we agree. What's our main argument? It is clear that there is no scientific basis for alternative treatments and medicine. Let's put in a example here, such as acupuncture. Oh, such as acupuncture. Okay. Oh. So we are just stating very clearly that this is not based in science, so we're completely agreeing. These routes of medicine are entirely stemmed in cultural practices or cultural notions without the without sort of the knowledge backing it up, or the real chemistry being known, without the chemistry or without the effects of the treatments being fully transparent. And therefore, the efficacy of such paths is unknown. Okay, so we're laying out our first opinion here that there is no science. It's not backed by any institutions or bodies. It is not in the scientific realm. Okay, so in some circumstances, or in some situations, we're trying not to repeat ourselves so much. In some situations, this can lead to grave consequences. Now let's think of an example where patients are treated by seek alternative medicines, and perhaps unfortunate outcomes can be seen. So there are instances where patients have looked to seek out alternative medicines for diseases such as cancer, for example. and in oh, ins, and sometimes this can be perilous and even lead to death. Oh, and even lead. This can be perilous and even lead to death. Okay, so we're just laying out what can happen when patients seek out these alternative forms of medicine. Maybe we could do a comparison with alternative with current medicines like chemotherapy. Maybe we could say such as cancer instead of the approved treatments such as chemotherapy. And then we could say sometimes this can be perilous and even lead to death. All right, let's read this back and see how we feel about this one. It is clear that there is no scientific basis for alternative treatments and medicines, such as acupuncture. Then we have these roots of medicine are entirely stemmed in cultural notions without the effects of the treatments being fully transparent, and therefore the efficacy of such paths is unknown. In some situations, this can lead to grave consequences. There are instances where patients have looked to seek out alternative medicines for diseases such as cancer instead of the approved treatments. Instead of repeating ourselves like chemotherapy, sometimes this can be perilous and even lead to death. Okay, so we've outlined our first point here that there's no scientific basis. I think that's good. Let's link this now with our second paragraph in which we are arguing there's no scientific basis. So this leads to trends happening on, say, social media. This leads to unprofessional people in the field, and it's hard to monitor this movement and make sure that everyone within this treatment is legitimate. So we're going to question the practitioners within this alternative medicine world now. Okay, so let's link this back to the previous paragraph. So not only is the treatment itself questionable, moreover, the maybe clinicians delivering or administering alternative treatments themselves should come into question. In a world, in this sphere of medicine, or in this medicinal sphere, FDA approval and backing is non-existent. Additionally, it is hard to, what's a good word for sort of monitoring, or you could use monitoring, monitor who is calling themselves a professional, or we can put that in brackets. It's hard to monitor who is calling themselves a professional Okay. Let's talk about the social media aspect now. So this is intertwined with the fact that it is becoming easier to utilize social media to promote and stir up commotion about the latest medicinal medicinal findings that have no scientific backing. So we could say that without this strict policing of who can become a professional, these people can market themselves through social media, follow the trends, and then obviously gain traction for themselves, and without them actually necessarily being knowledgeable or have the diplomas or degrees to back this. That have no in other words, individuals with no diplomas or with no specialized specialized training can jump on certain media hypes and benefits financially whilst potentially causing harm to their patients. Let's link this back to the question now. So it is the dangers of these treatments, these forms of medicine. Also, or maybe we could say the inexperienced people within the field using social media, which is notoriously untrustworthy, are additional additional reasons why this practice is dangerous and ineffective. Okay, let's read this back. Not only is the treatment itself questionable, moreover, the clinicians administering alternative treatments themselves should come into question. In this medicinal sphere, FDA approval and backing is non existent. Additional, it is hard to monitor who is calling themselves a professional. This is intertwined with the fact that it is becoming easier to utilize social media to promote and stir up commotion about the latest medicinal findings that have no scientific backing. We can make this a bit more succinct and maybe say to promote certain treatments that are are something like having a moment in the spotlight. However, with no scientific backing. In other words, individuals with no specialized training can jump on certain media hypes and benefit financially whilst potentially causing harm to their patients. The inexperienced people within the field using social media, which is notoriously untrustworthy, are additional reasons why this practice is dangerous and ineffective. Okay, so we've just gone back and edited our answer there, checking for spelling mistakes and making sure that we're not repeating ourselves too much. So let's just tie this all together with a conclusion. So, in conclusion, I completely agree that alternative medicines are maybe should not be promoted as they have no rooting in science, and the people or the companies and individuals that back them are unprofessional and untrained, perhaps. Unprofessional and maybe we could say, and use the media to push this narrative. Or maybe use questionable forms of, use influential forms of media to manipulate and push this narrative. In conclusion, I completely agree that alternative medicine should not be promoted as they have no rooting in science, and the companies and individuals that back them are unprofessional and use influential forms of media to manipulate or to push this narrative. Let's put that, to push this narrative. This can this leads to, I think that's okay actually. We don't want to repeat ourselves too much. Okay then, let's check the words and see how many we have for this one. Okay, so this comes to around 301 words, so a little bit over the 250 minimum there, but still nevertheless an achievable amount, and you can follow the structure that we've done in this essay, and you can make it realistic to you and how much you can write or type in the exam. Okay then, well, let's get started on our next essay. And this topic is going to look at overweight children, so obesity with children for this one. Obesity is quite a popular topic that could come up. The percentage of overweight children in Western society has increased by almost 20% in the last 10 years. Discuss the causes and effects of this disturbing trend. Right, okay, so we have a cause and effect question. This is what's jumping out to me straight away, cause and effect. So for the first paragraph, we will talk about the potential causes, and the second one, we will look at the effects. Okay, so let's have a think about this a bit more with the plan. So causes then. Let's see what we're thinking for causes. The first one that jumps to mind is diet. So that can encompass the rise in sugar, salt. Let's put this in brackets so we know that we're developing the diet. In Western diets, it is heavily reliant on processed foods. And alongside this, parents or families are working longer. So that leads to no time to less cooking, and therefore ready meals are common, and these have more sugar and salt in them. Also, another cause, cost of living. And healthy food is often cheaper, so we can add that as a point as well. And healthy food is often cheaper. Okay, so then what are the effects of this trend? Well, of course, health. This will impact. This can lead to obesity, which can lead to diseases like diabetes, which is a growing problem in society. And also mental health that can take a toll on, for example, children can have self-esteem issues, or potentially at school might be maybe bullied for this. So mental health is also an issue there. Okay, so in conclusion then, we want to say there are many reasons that cause overweight or cause this problem, and some effects. So we'll be specific in the exam, of course, but we'll just make our notes so that we stay on track and stay focused in this essay. Okay then, so let's put this all together. And as we know from before, we are required to paraphrase this sentence here. So the percentage of overweight children in Western society has increased by almost 20% in the last 10 years. So we could say something like the amount of young people who are over the who have perhaps high body mass index, who have a high body mass index, and then we could put BMI. In the West, the amount of young people has risen by nearly 20% in the last 10 years. It's hard to paraphrase that part, definitely. So the amount of people who have a high body mass index, or in other words, BMI, in the West has risen by nearly 20% in the last 10 years. Okay. This essay will discuss, or maybe not discuss because it's there, will examine the reasons why this is happening, and also demonstrate some impacts this has. Let's read this back. The amount of young people who have a high body mass index, BMI, in the West has risen by nearly 20% in the last 10 years. This essay will examine the reasons why this is happening and also demonstrate some impacts to individuals. Okay, I think that's perfect. We've paraphrased and then we've stated what we're going to do in the essay. We're off to a good start here. Okay, then, so let's dive into the causes for this, and we're going to talk about diet here. So we want a nice topic sentence. The main cause of obesity in the younger generation is the Western diet. Okay, there we go, to the point. So we're stating the main cause here. So then we have two sides to this argument. The diet itself isn't as it's full of sugar and salt. And also now that parents are working more, they don't have time to create healthy meals. So even if the diet was healthy, there's no time anymore. Okay, so the foods that are primarily eaten in countries such as the UK and USA are full of saturated fats, sugar, salt, and E numbers. Okay, so we're laying out what's happening here, why the diet is so bad. Okay, so let's maybe say an example. In the States, or maybe portion sizes as well. Also, portion sizes are dramatically bigger in comparison to other areas of the world, such as Asia. For example, in the States, when ordering fast food, there is a supersize option with an absurd amount of food for one person. Okay, so the diet is terrible. The not the best. The portions are much bigger, and convenience food is often cheaper. There is also the problem of parents and families working longer hours and not being able to dedicate time to cook from scratch. Now what does this lead to? This leads to convenience foods such as ready meals being relied upon to help feed the family. Not only that, we can talk about the cheapness of frozen foods. Not only that, but in this current cost of living crisis, quick food from this frozen section not often processed, often filled with or maybe we can leave that to the not only that, but in this current cost of living crisis, quick food from the frozen section is often cheaper and therefore more appealing. All types of, let's lead this and answer the question, all types of convenience foods are filled with excess ingredients, which undoubtedly undoubtedly um, undoubtedly undoubtedly contribute to weight gain. Maybe instead of excess ingredients, filled with detrimental ingredients, which undoubtedly contribute to weight gain. Okay, let's read this back and see how this sounds. The main cause of obesity in the younger generation is the Western diet. The foods that are primarily eaten in countries such as the UK and USA are full of saturated fats, sugar, salt, and E numbers. Also, portion sizes are dramatically bigger in comparison to other areas of the world, such as Asia. For example, in the States, when ordering fast food, there is a supersize option with an absurd amount of, we can say, calories. For one person. There is also the problem of parents and families working longer hours and not being able to dedicate time to cook from scratch. This leads to convenience foods, such as ready meals, being relied upon to help feed the family. Not only that, but in this current cost of living crisis, quick food from the frozen section is often cheaper and therefore more appealing. All types of convenience foods are filled with detrimental ingredients, which undoubtedly contribute to weight gain. Okay, so we're linking back to the question now, what is causing this weight gain? And now we're going into the effects of this. Okay, so let's start our next paragraph. We could say it is clear to see that health is being negatively affected in children due to this worrying or another word for trend, due to this worrying situation. It's clear to see that health is being negatively affected in children, that children's health is being negatively affected due to this worrying condition. First, physically, carrying excess weight can put pressure on organs and affect and strain the cardiovascular system. We could talk about diabetes now, linked in with this. A big cause for concern is the growth in children developing a lifelong diabetes which is a lifelong disease connected to being overweight. It's directly affected, in fact. Okay, so physically, of course, this can put strain on organs and your cardiovascular system, and the fact that this can develop into things such as diabetes is a worry as well. And now maybe we can talk about mental health to round this paragraph off. So as well as this, mental health can indeed be negatively impacted. This issue can lead to self-esteem problems. We could say something like, and potentially certain individuals could be bullied, and potentially maybe bullying can take place. Bullying can take place. Okay, so we've mentioned the health issues here, and we've also mentioned the mental health impacts as well. We could, if we've got time, maybe we could develop the health problems even more. We could add an example. So we've got diabetes here. Carrying excess weight can put pressure on organs and strain the cardiovascular system. Maybe we could say if this has no effect in younger years, this can definitely impact later on. If this, or maybe this may have little or less obvious effects when someone is young. However, this as they grow up, these problems can as they grow up, problems can arise. Problems can arise. Let's read this back and see how it sounds. It is clear to see that children's health is being negatively affected due to this worrying situation. First, physically, carrying excess weight can put pressure on organs and strain the cardiovascular system. Let's do a full stop there. This may have less obvious effects when someone is young, or maybe noticeable effects when someone is young. However, as they grow up, problems. Let's do maybe problems such as disease can arise. A big cause for concern is the growth of children developing diabetes, which is a lifelong disease directly connected to being overweight. Lifelong disease which requires medication and is directly connected to being overweight. As well as this, mental health can indeed be negatively impacted, or can indeed take a toll. This issue can lead, or this can lead to self-esteem problems, and potentially bullying can take place. Okay then, so we've gone back, we've edited, we've made sure things sound okay. Let's tie it all together now. So in summary, diet is the primary cause for the not epidemic, the surge in overweight or in children who are over the recommended weight. And this can lead to grave outcomes for health, such as, not grave, this can lead to detrimental outcomes for health, such as we could say lifelong diseases, maybe, or such as developing diseases. Nope. Okay then, so let's have a look and see whether we've how many words we've done, how far over the 250 word limit are we. Alrighty, so that takes us to 333 words. So slightly over the 250 minimum there, but you can see how we've structured this essay so you can take away, a few examples if you wanted to condense this down a little bit. But hopefully that's helped with this cause and effect question. So we had a to what extent question today and a cause and effect. So definitely two different types of questions that can come up in the exam. Good to be aware of them. Well, hopefully that's helped today. And thank you so much for coming along. Do let us know if you've got any questions. We like to hear from you. And we'll see you in the next video.